Welcome to the Volunteer Youth Worker Podcast. Youth ministries rise and fall on the volunteers. So we are here to encourage and equip you. Join the conversation as we tackle the practical questions you are asking so you can help the next generation know Jesus.
Episode 138 of the Volunteer Youth Worker Podcast. Welcome back. My name is Jeremy. I'll be hosting this conversation between Sid and Lisette today. Sid and Lisette, how you guys doing?
Hey, so good.
I was just going to say so good, but you got to it first. So I'm pretty good. I'm pretty dang good.
Pretty good. All right. Very nice, generic. That's helpful. For anybody listening, we're in the midst of this this podcast series, talking about how to make the most out of each part of your program. And Sid and Lisette, you guys have been, of course, you're part of our organization and our team. You've been having this conversation with folks over the last number of weeks. So we will not do the lengthy introductions. People can go back a few episodes and listen to find out more about how fantastic you are. That will be excellent. But let's just dive into today's conversation about small groups and how to make the most of small groups. So we kind of are assuming if you're listening to this podcast, you're a volunteer, you're probably leading a small group. Most youth ministries at this point kind of have small groups at a core part of their ministry. If that's not the case, you might have to filter this a little bit, but we love it when we can gather with a smaller crew of students that you get a chance to shepherd. And so we want to think about what are just some practical strategies that as a volunteer, even this week, or if they're listening to this right before or on the way to the program tonight, as they go into small groups, what can they do to really make the most out of their experience as a small group leader? So let me throw to Lisette. Why don't you start us off with what are you thinking? What are your ideas?
Sure. I mean, I think we've referenced this a few times, so I feel like we still got to almost do like the setup in case you're not hearing this, right, somehow decided to listen to all episodes over hours together. But we've kind of talked about what it looked like from the moment a kid drove up to this moment. And honestly, everything we've done has actually steered towards this moment of small group time because we really want every young person, right, to be discipled. Like that's the whole goal of ministry, is to help young people get to know Jesus and to love him and to know how to follow him and live their life for him. And we believe that all these pieces kind of land you in this moment where you as a leader get to disciple a kid, right? And you've done it through playing games with them and laughing and listening to a lesson and worshiping together. But now's the moment you get to go a little deeper and you get to talk about some things. And so we just want to say, first and foremost, just know that this moment is so important. And I think sometimes people just think, we're going to throw some things around or answer a couple questions and don't realize this is a significant moment of relationship, diving deeper into what God spoke into the space. And so I would say the first thing I just want to say is be attentive to the Spirit, be attentive to what God is up to and how he's forming these young people and what your role in that is.
Yeah, and know what, Lisette? Jared,
I just want to get Lisette to answer. No, because she's got to explain what is the role that we actually play. Because it's not all of us know this. Some of us got a job description. Totally. Probably 90% of us didn't. We're kind of are we just doing the questions? What do we lead? Do we keep kids from hurting themselves? What's our role?
No, you're the discipler. That's your role. You're the leader. You're the one in that moment. You know how Jesus had his 12? Now it's you. You're not Jesus, but Jesus is with you and you have your 8 to 12. And this is your moment of discipling them.
Yeah, you know what? So here's the language, you guys. I remember when I was just starting out in youth ministry and I read a book, They Smell Like Sheep, which was, by the way, I actually think you should read it.
That's a good book.
It was the first time that I'd heard a small group leader framed or used the metaphor of a shepherd, someone that's kind of journeying with and leading the sheep. And I thought, so first of all, it culturally didn't really connect with me, but there was a sense of it that I was like, oh, so cool. And then I found myself, you guys, after the conversations we've been having last week, or actually just yesterday, I was talking with a youth pastor evaluating their ministry, and I just said to him, hey, do you think your volunteers function more like chaperones or like shepherds? And that was kind of like this visual image of kind of these two ends perhaps that you can be in. And I love the idea of saying, hey, let's move towards that really immersed with kids, kind of this come follow me, let's roll this out together. And we know, of course, Lisette, and you've been involved in lots of research projects or organizations doing research, that to have an older person invested relationally in the life of a younger person, there's really no more effective way to pass faith on to the next generation. So right. This is for me, this is kind of the epitome. This is what I want my youth ministry to be founded on. And our small group time plays a part in that journey. It's maybe where we most clearly, get to lean into intentional discipleship. I do want to say this, if I could just say this. Is there any time more terrifying for most volunteers than the set aside small group moment? You know what I mean? Especially if you're the volunteer with those grade 6 boys. My son was one of those grade 6 boys. We were just talking about it the other day. He terrorized his small group leader. And they were like, what? You're sending me alone with these 6 kids? There's no guarantee I'm coming out of this room alive. What do I do? So I just want to say, in light of that, I know it's terrifying, but we actually philosophically believe in the long haul. So while we're talking about, like, I don't know, I would like to say a 20-minute time slot, grade 6 boys, a 3-minute time slot. What we really believe is that we think 3 years. We think like 6 years. And I know you're like, that's purgatory. I know that's what you're thinking, but trust me, the kind of conversations and the way that you can, journey with your small group in year 3 or 6 is so different than year 1. And at one point you go, man, that pain, that work was worth it. So I just want to kind of create a little bit of context in terms of, how you hear what we're going to talk about as well.
Okay, so this is good. This is nice, and it's setting the stage. So for you as a volunteer, you've been doing this for maybe just a few months, maybe it's been a few years. Some of this stuff is really helpful to know as you're kind of processing in this season, this week, next week, this month. How can you make the most? Let's toss some really practical ideas at them that give them some ideas on how to really leverage the time that they've got. So who wants to jump in, Sid or Lisette?
Sure. I mean, I guess I would say first, just get there, be prepared. And, if you have a point leader, hey, point leaders, if you are the point leader, have some questions beforehand,
oh, please.
Even as you're listening to the lesson, right? Like as you're listening to whatever's being taught, be thinking about like, oh, I wonder what's resonating with the kids in my group. What will capture their attention? Like be attentive before you get there and then set the stage. You set the temperature, right? We said this about the games. Make them the funnest thing on the planet. When the lesson is being taught, make it the most engaging, right? And now when you get to small group, you want to set the stage that says, we're comfortable, we're safe, we're good, and we want to hear from one another. And you're the one who helps set the stage for that. And so that's like the first thing I think you can do to help make the most of your time.
Listen, I want to reiterate just something you quickly said there. Like, we know we're on volunteers, but if I can say to point leaders, you guys, one of the things that you can do so well for your volunteer in this moment, if you're a point leader listening to this, get the questions to your leaders early. Like, please. And by the way, I'm the guy who always handed them to our leaders as we were heading into our talk time. Okay. So but if you could back up your process and you could actually put that in their hands the week before, or even at the beginning of the night and just let them walk through a little bit, what a win. And then for you as a volunteer, like you said, Lisette, as preachers, you guys, we would always say, hey, good preachers preach to themselves first and then they preach to their audience. If you could internalize or personalize the questions, now they can become a guide as opposed to just a script. And so if there's any chance you can do some pre-work, make it your Devo time, whatever. I don't care. Like that can be so helpful when you walk into the moment.
That's really good. So becoming prepared, kind of understanding where things are going. And, we've done some great, I want to say great because it wasn't me dropping the bombs, but some great episodes on how to think about your small group questions. So, Sid, Lisette, we've all written small group questions. We get that they're sometimes challenging. If you're a leader and you're like, who comes up with these things?
The truth is at it.
Random people, in the dark of night, trying to figure out what will spark conversation. But the point of them isn't that you have to just get through the sheet. The point is to try to find ways to spark good conversation. So if you've got a different way of doing that with your group, by all means. But go back and listen. Episode 6, one of the very early episodes that we did on the podcast was with Jason Ballard. And Jason wrote the questions for the Alpha Film Series, which, they did studies and tests because they were running that for like 1 million plus teenagers, trying to figure out what are the best ways to write questions. And so he's got some great thoughts on that back on episode number 6. Okay. Anything else that you want to say, Lisette, about making the most of the small group time?
I just think setting the stage too, honestly. We said be prepared. We said you set the temperature, but I think just setting the stage for what you want to see happen. And we underestimate that just saying those things out loud are really helpful. So even just saying like, hi. So for small group time, here's what we want to do together. We want all of you to be able to share. We want you to respect each other's answers. Whatever the things you need to say in your group are. But it sometimes seems funny to feel like you have to say those every week. But I've found the leaders that set the stage every week and kind of said what needed to be said so that everybody knew, we know the rules of engagement, for lack of a better term, right? We know what's going to happen. Just made it so everybody knew what was going to happen and knew what was expected. And hopefully you see new kids in your group. And so it's just good to remind everyone, hey, this is what we do. This is how this happens, so that you set everybody up to win.
That's great. I usually, if I'm leading a conversation, I like to say things like, hey, we want, ask some questions. You can jump in with answers, but just know if you disagree with something that you heard from the platform, like this is an okay place. You should disagree. Be honest with us here. And that's totally fine because that isn't necessarily assumed by students. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
And for many of them coming in, they might kind of think like, oh, I'm here to fulfill some like routine or ritual. And you want to be able to break through that to get to that real point of conversation.
Hey, Jerry, I was just talking with a small group, some volunteers just the other day with one of the churches we were working with. And their small group were engaging, a topic over and over again. The topic was fairly controversial. And it was really disrupting the whole group. And so they were kind of like, what do we do with this? And I said, actually, the issue isn't the topic. The issue is respecting each other with the tone and way you enter into the conversation. So there's really no such thing as a topic that's off limits. There might be like a topic that's not helpful for the moment or a distraction, but you know what I mean? Like we're really open to talking about things, but we're really clear on how we do it. We're really clear on being respectful to one another when we do it. And we're really clear about respecting kind of our environment that says some seasons we're going to talk about this, but it's not going to be the only thing we talk about. So we might set it aside for other seasons. And I thought that was really helpful for, as we were kind of wrestling through it to go, like this actually isn't about the topic that you're struggling with. This is actually about the way they went about engaging the topic. And those are two very different things.
Totally.
Yeah, that's really, really helpful. So yeah, setting the tone, I even appreciate the churches that I've been a part of will often introduce even like our Sunday morning services by explaining like, hey, we're going to be here together for 60 minutes and this is exactly what's going to happen. And if you've got teenagers that don't necessarily know, even like what's a small group, what are we actually like, how long does this go for again? When will you let us out so we can go get the snack and play, the dodgeball game? Setting those things up just kind of, again, lowers the tension and lowers people's guards a little bit. So I love that advice, Lisette. That's so helpful for us. Okay, Sid, I think you've got one or two other ones that you want to throw it out to people. Let us know what can we do to make the most of our small group time.
Yeah, really quick. If possible, I would like us to imagine that our small group time doesn't end with the program that evening. So what I'm trying to think about is there like an application or a question that I would love my small group to either like put into play during the week or think about during the week. And what that allows me to do is and then what I'm thinking about is how could I check in with them partway through the week? Maybe it's going to be like a group text, we're in some kind of a chat platform. Maybe it's like I'll see them somewhere and ask the question. But what I'm shooting for when I do that is I'm saying, hey, you guys, like our spiritual formation is more than just this program. And really, it's about all of life. So how does this apply to all of life? And then my interest in you is more than just this program. My interest in you is as another human being, and I care for you. And I think both when we have ways to apply and process outside the moment, and if I can connect, even if it's just a text, even if it's a one-liner, I think it actually says something more to those kids than we're often aware of and can allow for a much deeper impact in their lives. So that's what I'm shooting for. And then best case scenario, next week when I get back together in my small group, I follow up with it. Hey, tell me about how it went. What did you think? How are we doing? And again, it just says that I'm way more interested in you than just this program I'm trying to get through. I care about you. So that for me has been like something that I've been really wrestling with the small group stuff that we're involved in right now.
Yeah, that's a good word. And, this idea that the program that we do is simply a means to the greater end. Like, we're not here to serve the program. The idea of gathering in a small group, like, this is all that we're supposed to do. This is just the tool that we use to be able to do this discipleship work. So,
love it.
Extending beyond the program, setting us up for the next conversation, like, all that stuff is fantastic. And, I think some of the great leaders often will take notes in their small group time. So as you're thinking about those types of things, what are the conversations we want to have later on down the road? Like, let me actually keep a log so that I'm ready. Hey, you mentioned that in small group time, and I was thinking about that, later this week, and was praying for you. Whatever it might be, as a leader, just helps you be in tune with your students beyond, again, those program moments. Okay, so small groups, obviously a core part of what we're doing. Anything else that you guys want to say in terms of making the most out of our small group time? Keeping in mind, there's a leader listening, and they're about to drive into their building and go to their small group tonight. So your advice is going to make a difference momentarily for them.
I think I just want to say, I feel like if Ben Woodman was here, this would be him. He'd come in right now and say, make sure you pray together every time.
That's so good.
I just think there's so many groups that never pray together, or leaders that feel uncomfortable with that. And I just want to encourage you. There's something that happens when you really invite God to be there. We know that he is there. Like, theologically, I believe he's already there in your midst. But there's something about praying together and letting kids know that you're praying for them and for what's going on in their world that I think helps change everything for them. So if nothing else, pray together.
Right.
That's such a good word. Sid, we've had John Thompson at our conferences a couple of years ago, and I was so grateful for the way he articulated this, because you have to assume, as a person that believes in the power of the Holy Spirit and what God is doing in our midst, like, that there are both forces of good and forces of evil at work in our world. And so can you imagine, when our students go to their high schools, the amount of impact that the evil one has in their midst, and the way that he wants to attack them. And so why wouldn't we bring them before the Father in this kind of incredible way, and ask for him to do the work that we can't do? We can't be with them 24/7. We can't protect their mind. We can't protect them from the attacks, and yet he can. So Lisette, I love that. And obviously, Ben, yeah, he is the one that would remind us of that in the moment. We should just pray right now, you guys, is exactly what he would say in that moment. So I appreciate that so much. Good. Sid, any last words from you?
Yeah, no, I love it. Thank you so much. Hey, listen, youth workers, thank you so much for what you're doing. I had a couple of boys that are pretty lively, pretty active. I want you to know it made life not easy for you. If you're that volunteer for my kids' youth ministry, I know there were some years that were really hard, but I got to tell you, it has paid off. Your time with them has really, really paid off. And Jer, we were on tour and we were talking about this when my youngest son, who's in high school now, had a tough week, went to a small group. His leader just listened to him for 15 minutes and prayed for him. And it was such a game changer for him. These times really matter, you guys. Thanks so much for what you do. Stay the course. I know there's some weeks where you wonder, as a parent, Lisette, you'll acknowledge this, as parents, you don't have to wonder. We know it matters. So what you do makes a difference. Thank you.
Amazing. All right, folks. Well, we'll see you back next time for another episode, another conversation of the Volunteer Youth Worker Podcast. Until then, if you want to get in touch with us, we've got some contact info in the show notes. And of course, we'd love to hear from you how your ministry's going. And if you've got a question that you want us to tackle, that would be fantastic. Have a great week and enjoy the ministry that you've got to students. You're making an eternal difference.